dinner.
Good morning, I'm Sharaad Kuttan and welcome to BFM's Morning Headlines, where we scan the newspapers for the secret agendas of the media. So we start with the Sun. Now this is spying on us, and who's spying? Well, apparently Singapore, part of a network of countries that help each other spy on each other. So there you have it. Wisma Putra called the High Commissioner of Singapore and demanded an explanation. Now what's really interesting about this story is that when the federal opposition, Pakatan Rakyat MPs, demanded an emergency motion to discuss this in Parliament, the Speaker said no. He said yes, it's important, of public interest, but he said no, it's not an emergency, can't talk about it. Which is a shame, because that house, that august house we call Parliament, is supposed to be discussing issues, and we want the Speaker to enable discussion, not shut it down. So, New Straits Times does pretty much the same. And Singapore makes 3. Also on the front page of New Straits Times, she is Siti Aishah, a young Malaysian woman that went missing 30 years ago. Apparently, she was a part of a cult. Now, the other story, of course, is this happy story for Berita Harian as Sabah PKR fall apart. Now, again, the Malay Mail, rather dramatically, 10,000 kilometers in search of Aishah. There you have Aishah's sister, and many other newspapers, she's seen carrying a Marks & Spencer's bag. She's only leaving Malaysia for London, but she already has her Marks & Spencer's bag. The Star brings an end to that rather strange story of the National Registration Department denying a young girl an IC because they felt that she doesn't look sufficiently like her mother. So there you have the young girl. I'll show it to you. She apparently was thought by the officials at the National Registration Department as being of mixed heritage, Chinese and Indian, because this does not appear, and I'm assuming she has a birth certificate, doesn't appear on that, and so they were rather suspicious and demanded a DNA test. Why we should look like our parents, I don't know, but perhaps somebody should give a lesson on genetics to the NRD people. There's something called a recessive gene, and of course not all Indians look alike. Berita Harian continues its story on customs and tries to suss out what's going on there and why some 12,000 vehicles were ferreted out of the country and unnoticed apparently. Now they're kind of doing a very important thing. There's a bit of a hysteria now going on in Malaysia about corruption. So they calm the thing down a little by saying, well, there are perhaps several factors that resulted in this, not just corrupt officers. One is the lack of enforcement officers. 2, the high number of containers going through these terminals. 3, an institutional emphasis on imports over exports. And finally, perhaps some corrupt officials as well. So there you have Siti Aishah's sister with the Marks & Spencer's bag. Sinar Harian is on a campaign to help UMNO and PAS mend fences. Ketepi dendam, which means put aside ill feeling. And this again is about the muzakarah. And here we have UMNO Supreme Council member Idris Harun talking about the need for PAS and UMNO to come together for the sake of the Malay community and Islam. Metro is the next paper I pick up, the one but last. There you have it again. Wanita Melayu jadi hamba 30 tahun in London. A young Malay woman. Apparently she was very bright. She had a huge future, but she was also somebody who was attracted by leftist ideology. She gets into the grip of this guy, Bala, who is Indian born, could be Singaporean, nobody really is clear at this point where he comes from. And he and his partner, a Tanzanian born woman, apparently held these 3 other women for 30 years. But strangely enough, one of the facts that have emerged is that the women were allowed out of the house, but they had invisible handcuffs. This story has legs. Now, Utusan, we end with the Thai crisis is something that Utusan is very interested in. More pictures of Siti Aishah there. And here, smiling faces in UMNO as PKR Sabah falls apart, almost paralyzed, it says. That's all we have for you this morning. BFM's Morning Headlines ends. I'm Sharaad Kuttan on BFM 89.9. And the word for today, recessive gene, the non-dominant trait that appears in a minority of offspring.